A drone attack took place in the city of Kazan, Tatarstan, Russia. Local Telegram channels reported this. Ukrainian kamikaze drone struck the Orgsyntez chemical plant. As a result, a fire broke out in 3 tanks storing chemicals. A compressed gas base in the city was also hit by a drone strike, causing an explosion and fire. There are no reports of casualties. Both facilities were reportedly hit by long-range, Ludi, drones. It should be noted that Kazan is located 1,300 kilometers from the border with Ukraine.
Кружит прям сволочь. А, их 2. Их 2, блин. Вот еще один.
At the end of the Cold War, the world's leading powers agreed that reducing nuclear weapons would make the planet safer. However, that era is over, writes the Wall Street Journal. Arms control treaties are falling apart. Nuclear powers are beefing up their arsenals, and the risk of proliferation is growing. There is growing discussion of the possibility of using tactical nuclear weapons to gain an advantage on the battlefield. The path to a return to fear of nuclear war began in 1945, when the first nuclear explosion was detonated at the Trinity test site in Mexico. In 1963, US President John F. Kennedy, during the Cold War, expressed fears about a future in which nuclear weapons would be in the hands of dozens of countries. He called it the greatest possible danger. For decades, arms control treaties, technical barriers, and the principle of mutually assured destruction have kept worst-case scenarios at bay. Global stockpiles of nuclear weapons peaked in the mid-1980s, but have since declined steadily. The United States and the Soviet Union concluded the first Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or START, in 1999. But important agreements between Russia and the United States are now under threat. The Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty has been terminated, and the treaty limiting the number of deployed warheads expires early next year. Washington is increasingly talking about the need to expand its nuclear potential to counter growing threats from Russia and China, which could lead to a new arms race. China is estimated to be planning to triple its nuclear stockpile by 2035. It already has about 600 intercontinental missiles capable of reaching the United States. Beijing, however, has rejected proposals to negotiate with Russia and the United States on limiting its nuclear forces. While the US and Russia have been reducing their strategic stockpiles, concerns have been raised about tactical nuclear weapons. Their smaller yield and shorter range make them suitable for use in conventional conflicts. Moscow has repeatedly hinted at the possibility of using these weapons in Ukraine. In November, Russia even updated its doctrine to expand the grounds for their use. Efforts to curb the spread of nuclear weapons, enshrined in the 1970 Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, or NPT, have come under pressure. Despite 191 signatories, 3 nuclear-armed countries have never joined the agreement, and North Korea withdrew in 2003. Iran, a party to the NPT, is months away from developing a nuclear weapon. Saudi Arabia has already said it will follow suit if Iran succeeds. Dov Zakheim, a senior advisor at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, believes that US President Joe Biden's decision to grant Ukraine permission to fire Western missiles at Russia may indicate that, at the end of his term, he has decided to no longer restrain himself out of fear of a Russian nuclear threat that never materialized. Ukraine's proposal to the DPRK leadership on the possibility of exchanging prisoners is the right move. This was stated by the head of the Center for Military and Legal Research, currently a serviceman of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Alexander Musienko, on air at Radio Liberty. He noted that it is quite normal that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is proposing to return to North Korea its prisoners of war who fought in the Russian Federation if Kim Jong-un organizes their exchange for Ukrainian soldiers who are in Russian prisons. This is a very good move, because in this way we show that North Korea is in liaison with Russia and is a participant in aggression. This is the right military political move. We will see how Kim Jong-un reacts to this, Musienko said. According to him, there has been no reaction so far, and they tried to cover up those who were captured with Russian military IDs where they are listed as residents of Tuva in order to hide the fact that they are North Koreans. The expert noted that as of now, there is a paradoxical thing. Russian troops are attacking in small groups using drones, and the North Koreans are now acting like Russian troops in 2022, moving in columns without regard for losses. The paradox is that we do not see additional forces arriving from North Korea to Russia. This means that the North Koreans and Kim Jong-un do not really care what will happen to these DPRK troops. He frankly does not care. But on the other hand, not sending additional troops may indicate that he will not do this because he sees what losses he is suffering and there is no result. And he thinks that he has already settled accounts with Putin, Musienko said. He noted that it looks like Kim Jong-un will either refuse to send new soldiers to the Russian Federation at all or will set such a price for the Russian Federation that Putin may not want to pay, although he may want to. But so far, such sending of additional forces has not been recorded, Musienko emphasized. The expert drew attention to the fact that when information appeared about the capture of North Korean servicemen, it was said that representatives of South Korean intelligence were helping Ukraine. Obviously, this indicates that cooperation has been established between Ukraine and South Korea on this issue. This is important, he emphasized. At the same time, he added that today there is no political will on the part of the North Korean leadership to transfer weapons to Ukraine. In particular, multiple launch rocket systems, artillery systems to counter Russia, which is fighting together with the DPRK.